What's up, people of Earth? Welcome to another edition of Klak's Kitchen. Today we're going to be doing oysters. Thanksgiving tradition. Here with my poppy down here in Blunt's Creek, North Carolina on the Pamlico Sound. What we're doing right now is we're getting the fire started here, this little fire pit, so that we can cook the oysters up. Alright, now what we got here, we got a bushel of oysters that we got from Ginn seafood here down North Carolina. Some big ones. These oysters from Texas that were brought up from the Gulf. Usually Texas oysters tend to be a little more salty than North Carolina oysters, and so that's what we're going to go with today. I'm going to show you guys how pretty it is down here in my view. I got this big beautiful river behind me, the Pamlico River. I love it down here. It's so nice. You hear that? You hear that? Nothing. Nobody to bother you. It's a nice place to be. A typical tradition that we do. We did our big turkey and ham and cranberry sauce and all that stuff last night. So typically we do the big traditional Thanksgiving dinner the night before, and then on the day of Thanksgiving we like to do oysters. Right here we got Poppy and Mac helping out with the fire. Just need a fire pit like this in order to do it. And you have the little grill here that's going to go on top of that. And we're going to put the fire right on top of it. Mac here helping out with the fire. Now the fire's getting close, temperature's getting close to where we need it to be. I want to have my brother-in-law Austin go over the actual art of shucking an oyster. Alright, here's my brother-in-law Austin, oyster shucking 101.
Well, today we are having Texas oysters. They are very salty here on Thanksgiving Day. And we've kept them on ice for about a day now. And we're just going to use our typical oyster knife. The way I do it is we find the hinge of the oyster. These are fairly large oysters. They're very salty. So you simply find the hinge, pop, and try and work around the outside so that you don't disturb the actual oyster. And I typically will take the edge of the knife and cut the muscle loose, and we'll recycle the shells. And then underneath the oyster there's a muscle that actually holds it to the shell, and if you can actually slide it underneath it without busting or disturbing the oyster, then you have a good clean oyster. And that's pretty much it. And in a moment we'll use hand towels just to make sure that the knife is clean, because mud will still get inside there.
Of opening the oysters, just dropping them on the ground like Mac likes to do.
You want to drop it where the hinge spot is. So like if it was like right here, then you'd have to drop it like precisely. And then once you're doing that, then eventually you keep pulling, and then it keeps opening up new spots, and then you eventually crack off the entire shell. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, show me that oyster. Oh yeah.
Huh.
And essentially what we're doing right now is we're just going ahead and prepping the shells. We're going to do it old school on an open fire, but we're going to let the embers cook down so that we don't overcook it. These are going to be char grilled oysters, so we're basically cooking oysters on the half shell. So just to be efficient with our time, we'll get a bunch of these prepared and allow for the embers to burn down. And we're going to do char grilled oysters, so we'll actually cook the oysters on the half shell, and I think we will cook them with butter, maybe garlic or some other herb, and Parmesan cheese.
All right, what do we got going on here?
We're pouring the melted butter on the oysters on the half shell. We're going to add a little Old Bay, some garlic seasoning, and cheese to them, and do some charbroiled oysters.
And essentially the heat and the fire is going to wrap around the shell and cook down the oyster to a level that we like it. Some are going to be a little bit tighter than others based on the heat. But I would say even if you don't like oysters, this is definitely a delicacy and will turn anybody on to oysters. down east style.
I will say this, these are some of the biggest oysters that I've ever seen.
And they're the easiest to open.
This
These
one's
are
like
perfect.
Getting ready to prep them and then put them on the grill. And BT Dub, that's my lovely wife Allison. We got all the fixings ready. Oh, baby, I like it raw.
Dang.
Let's see here. Yeah.
And cheese biscuit
Cheese biscuits
Cheese
made
biscuit.
by Juju.
are the best.
got my butter knife. Delicious.
Hey, my wife's birthday is in a few days, so happy 45th to the lovely Allison. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to say that. The oyster and cheese biscuit. And now what we got going on, so we got some left over. So we got some extra oysters in there. We're just gonna put them on the grill there, and then once they get hot, they'll pop open on their own, and then we'll scoop them out and eat them like that. We're gonna wait for those to get hot and pop open. Scraping all the fixings out.
And get it all over your chin.
Well,
All right, since the fire was kind of burning down and the oysters didn't pop, so we just kind of let them pop open, and then we'll get them, and we'll save the rest of them for later. But that's about it for the food portion. We got one more thing to cover. So this is a bucket of the oysters that we had shucked, and I'm going to show you what we like to do with those. All right, so what you do is you take those oyster shells and you lay them out, hit them with the hose, clean them off as best as you can, and then you take water and bleach solution, you clean them up real nice, and they get nice and white. And then what you do is you can put them in your garden or around your house, and it adds a little nice touch, a little bit of ambiance. Over here you got another little area with the oyster shells, and at my house in Fayetteville we have them after we do our oyster roast, we take those extra oyster shells and we put them around our fire pit out back. All right, well, it's your boy AK Raw 215 on Instagram, signing off here for another episode of Klak's Kitchen Thanksgiving tradition, oyster shells. Stay tuned for the next one. You